We're live.
All right. Welcome to episode 52 of season 2 of Brews and Bruins, a drinkable podcast you can taste, the Hockey Podcast Network podcast presented by Bruins Diehards and DraftKings. Drew, you get the read for DraftKings?
Oh boy, that I don't.
that's not good.
What's the date?
It is the 3rd.
All right,
cool. Should I tweet out the live stream here? Or does it automatically go out?
Yeah, automatically goes up, but you should retweet it.
Okay,
exactly, just in case.
Yeah. All right. The second round is in full swing of the basketball playoffs, and the action increases from game to game. This is where the contenders are separated from the pretenders. To give you some skin in the game, DraftKings will be offering free-to-play pools every day of the basketball playoffs, offering players a free shot at up to $10,000 in total prizes. The best part is that it's free to play. DraftKings free-to-play pools are easy to enter. Just download the DraftKings app, go to pools, and choose from a wide variety of free contests for an opportunity to win cash prizes. All you have to do is answer a handful of questions like who's going to score the most three-pointers, who's going to score first, all that.
Oh, God.
Questions will range from which team will hit the most. Oh, I already read that. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings app, not one of those lower-rated ones, now, and use promo code THPN, like the Hockey Podcast Network, when you sign up to get your free shot at $10,000 in total prizes every day of the hockey playoffs. Wait, so this applies to hockey too? That's sick. Head to the DraftKings pools page and get your shot at huge cash prizes. That's promo code THPN for a limited time, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Great. All right. Yeah. Episode 52, season 2. We got Shukri Wrights on from the Shukri Wrights podcast and several, maybe all of the radio shows. I don't want to get any of them wrong. Feel free to plug those right now if you want.
The Shukri Wrights Show on 91.5 FM WMFO, Know Your Rights program on 100.1 FM WBRS, and national radio show, the Shoe with Shukri Wrights on Pacifica Radio Network, on demand on iHeartRadio, as well as part of the Shukri Wrights podcast.
Hell yes. All right. So this has been a long time coming. I feel like, you're friends with a lot of our friends. You've had Lauren Campbell on a couple of your episodes. We love Lauren. What I really like recently from you has been the kind of like man on the street kind of news, the morning headlines and stuff, and then kind of your post-game videos that you're posting on Twitter. I love that stuff. Good to see people responding to that. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. It's been pretty humbling when people are approaching me in the street now, saying that, oh my God, I follow you on Twitter. Oh hey, like I see you at this spot. Like it happened to me for game 2. Like this one fan literally was like, oh my God, I follow you on Twitter. You're that guy. I'm like, yeah, yes, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. But no, it's awesome. Like Bruin fans, I expected nothing less from in terms of just the raw energy and passion, both on social media and as well as in person. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, so we wanted to get you on and get your thoughts on, the series with the Islanders so far. There've been some kind of shakeups in terms of injuries and how Bruce Cassidy's handled that, and then kind of what you're expecting for tonight's game. For I guess whoever's watching live, and then we'll splice this in with the post game afterwards.
Sure. One of the things that I talked about earlier on my Twitter live video, which you can watch on Shukri Wrights Twitter page at Shukri Wrights, is that the news of Craig Smith right now, he is a game time decision, and that also one of the things I want to be on the lookout for is the Bruins blue line against the Islanders forwards. When you look at the forwards for the Islanders, they don't blow you away in terms of names. Like, guys like of Jordan Eberle or especially like a Matthew Barzal or Cal Clutterbuck on the cases of Zekas, and it doesn't blow you away. But I do think that there are times that this lineup lines 1 through 4 absolutely they just give you fits physically. And you kind of saw that at times in game 2. And with the series shifting to Long Island, I do think that the crowd is definitely going to be a factor. So I do think that the first 15 minutes of the game is going to be critical for the Bruins to take the crowd out of the game, because we know that Nassau Coliseum is one of the loudest venues in the NHL. And I think it's important that the Bruins are able to establish their game plan early on. Get bodies on bodies, like establish the forecheck, and as well as get pucks on net. Like, stop being so passive. That's really, in fact, that's probably the biggest thing of it all. Stop being so passive with the puck. Shoot. You got to make Semyon Varlamov uncomfortable. If you let him to get any type of comfortable and make him look like the next Andrei Vasilevsky, this team is going to have problems. When this team is not aggressive getting pucks on net, this team has problems offensively. And you saw that at times, especially in the second period of game number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the positives that I took from game 2, not that it's necessarily a positive when you look at it at face value, but it's that the Islanders are going to treat that win as justification for continuing with Semyon Varlamov, where I am much more afraid of Ilya Sorokin. And I think that's a good point. Get pucks on net with Varlamov there, because he is vulnerable when you get pucks. Thanks, Nick, for chiming in.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I think things that I saw in game 2 that I liked. I mean, I saw you comment on this earlier, that, Jake DeBrusk wasn't, he's not necessarily the answer on the second line. And thankfully, if Craig Smith is back, he doesn't have to be, but I think he had a pretty solid game and he was noticeable. And I think when Jake DeBrusk is noticeable, that's great, because people have seen him disappear for long stretches of time. And that's kind of the frustration with him.
He's not your best answer on that second line if Craig Smith can go tonight. So, Bruin fans, I hate to break it to you, destroy that expectation. And if Bruce Cassidy puts on that second line, I'm going to look at him as, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna basically add an anchor to what is already an explosive second line when they're going well with David Krejci and Taylor Hall. Like, what are we doing here? And the big component of it all, I think, in this series, and I was telling a few Bruin fans this before game 1, was I need to see a lot more from guys like Charlie Coyle and Nick Ritchie, but because Nick Ritchie has been absolutely a big non-factor during this series up until this point. And Charlie Coyle on that third line, if that third line can get going at any point, that would be great. Yes, did Charlie Coyle score in game 2 rather? Excuse me. Yes, but other than that, he has not been much of a factor this postseason for the Bruins. And you need to get that 2019 version of Charlie Coyle if this team is going to make a run to the Stanley Cup Finals. And I'm at a point now where I'm going to call each and every single game for what it is in terms of matchups, in terms of where the Bruins stand, in terms of their health, and as well as in terms of their personnel. Now, Jacob Zboril is going to be out for this game along with Kevin Miller. I think that's huge because we know the physical component of Kevin Miller and what he brings to the blue line. But Jacob Zboril, he's a younger guy, not as experienced, but he does bring skill to the position. But the loss of Kevin Miller is huge, and you need that kind of physical presence for the Bruins in this series. You were able to get something out of Kevin Miller in round 1 against Washington, but you need it, especially at times where it will get more physical as the series progresses. And I think not having him for game 3 and games 4 is going to be advantage Islanders, because now what the Islanders can do, they can deploy their fourth line to be the opening line to start games, and they can deploy them at will in terms of that line is arguably the best fourth line in the NHL, even better than Tampa Bay's fourth line, in fact. And that's not a far-fetched thing to say. So if you're the Boston Bruins, I think Game 3 is a monstrous game. If you are a Bruins fan looking for which direction is the series going to go as of tonight.
Yeah, I think when you bring up Kevin Miller too, I think just looking at Lauzon's play as of late, I think that's a huge like the physical play aside, just that veteran presence, that playoff experience, a little more trustworthy. And we've kind of shat on Kevin Miller a fair amount in the past.
Oh yeah,
but I am missing him now. I think there really is something to be said about that experience playing at that level, because what I see from Lauzon is I feel like he gets a little bit emotional. He gets a little bit carried away at times, which causes him to make mistakes, get out of position, take penalties. And this is a time where you really need someone you can rely on back there. So, well, at first I was like, all right, Kevin Miller's out, next man up. I'm now seeing, Kevin Miller's playing a bigger role on this team than I actually thought at first.
Yeah, and I like that you
know what's interesting. I'm sorry, Chris.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like Jeremy Lauzon has become a bit of a mental puddle, especially after Game 2, where he was on the ice for 3 of the 4 goals that were scored in that game, especially obviously the overtime winner, which I think is absolutely indefensible. So I do think that right now the blue line for the Bruins outside of Charlie McAvoy is a major concern. This is no shot at Matt Grzelcyk at all, but Matt Grzelcyk is a tier or 2 lower than Charlie McAvoy at this point in time. And I do think that this blue line right now, as it currently is constructed, is something that can potentially be exploited by the New York Islanders. Even if you look at their top line and you look at their top 6 forwards and you say they don't fear the blue line of the Boston Bruins in terms of their ability to stop them from being able to generate offense through the neutral zone, and as well as their ability to generate first and second chances and so forth, especially knowing now that Tuukka Rask is not fully healthy. So they're going to look to exploit that as well.
Yeah, another thing I like that you brought up is just a name like Zaboral, and not necessarily just him, but also, John Moore is another guy who's a depth defenseman, and just losing all your depth at defense can really hurt you when it comes playoff time. Not necessarily because I think those guys are great players or anything along those lines, but if you have a player like Lauzon who's struggling, maybe I'm not as down on him as a lot of people are, but at this point in the season, when you do make a couple mistakes, I do worry about where he is mentally and how he's going to be in the next game based on, making a few mistakes and maybe having a little bad luck take hold of him. But it's a lot about how he's going to respond, and not about like, okay, we have this safety net, or Bruce Cassidy has this safety net where he can say, all right, maybe we try out a couple of different guys and see what happens. Right now, it's just Jared Tenorti, and that's a guy who's going to get skated around if you put him in there. And
I'm not down on the like Lauzon to the point where, what was it, the first or the second goal of Game 2 where it went off his skate and went in? And I see a lot of people who are like, oh, that's all his fault. Like, what's he doing? It's like, that's a little bit of bad luck. But I am down on the point that I don't trust him back there. I really don't. And yeah, you mentioned John Moore, and I cringed a little bit, but I'm kind of thinking like, I wish we could give John Moore a game. I wish that was a possibility. Tenorti, I am a fan of just because of the physical presence he does bring. And I don't know if he's had playoff experience, but he does have more experience than Lauzon. But yeah, he can get skated around, especially with a faster team like the Islanders are, at least compared to what we saw from the Capitals. I mean, the Capitals have guys like Kuznetsov and Ovechkin who are very high skilled, but for the most part, they're built around physicality and size. But the Islanders are very more of the same strategy as the Bruins are, built similar to the Bruins in that there are a lot of skill-based and just talented hockey players there.
And I like that we haven't really brought up Connor Clifton as a
let's
negative
bring up
in
Connor
any way.
Clifton. Let's
it's
go.
it's just this guy is he's in the lineup now and belongs there. And that's a good sign in terms of how he's played and the Bruins and their fans confidence in him now.
You know, one thing you talked about, Connor Clifton, and Connor Clifton is a guy that I think could make a difference. But I want to go back on the point about Jarred Tinordi, because Tinordi was brought here for his physical presence, which I believe he does bring. But I do want to also point out the fact that it is imperative. It is imperative for the Boston Bruins to figure it out on the blue line and as well as like the bottom six, because a team like the Islanders, and I'm going to keep hammering home this point, and I really want Bruin fans that are watching this now and are going to watch this later on to think about this for tonight's game, is you are going to need all four lines to go. You need all four lines. It's great to get offensive like contributions from McAvoy as you've gotten throughout this playoff so far, but he can't be the only one. Like you can't look at Matt Grzelcyk and say, well, Matt Grzelcyk he's contributed on a few assists, but he hasn't put the puck in the back of the net. And he was supposed to be the guy that's also a bit more of an offensive defenseman. So I look at the bottom six for the Bruins right now, and I say I am very concerned, because right now you've gotten next to nothing from the third line. In the fourth line, which I expected a lot more from, especially Sean Kuraly, you've gotten next to absolutely nothing. So
I have a question for you on that fourth line before you continue.
Go ahead.
So
yes,
Carson Kuhlman presumably out tonight if Craig Smith's slotting in.
Mm-hmm.
I think I prefer him on that fourth line over Chris Wagner, but Chris Wagner does bring that physical presence that you were talking about when you want to match up against the Islanders. Where do you fall on that?
Chris Wagner is the one guy who I feel most comfortable with in terms of he can obviously bring you like the offensive side of the game, but he can also bring a checking game as well. But he can obviously score as well. But Carson Kuhlman is a guy that I look at and I say, Kuhlman, he still has a lot to learn in terms of being a bit more consistent, because he'll have games where he'll show up, not just only in terms of the box score, but he'll show up in other areas that will impact the game. And then there are other games that he's like, where is he? Like what is he doing? So the big thing for me right now is you need guys like Chris Wagner to be huge. If he can come up huge tonight or in game 4, but especially tonight, that will do the Boston Bruins a lot of good moving forward, especially where health is becoming a concern, a legitimate concern for this team, because we already see like the guys that are already either injured or will miss game 3. So I do think that there is something to be said in terms of the depth of the Boston Bruins being tested now is in a series against the Islanders, in which that they are absolutely relentless and they're playing without fear in a Barry Trotz system. You need your unsung heroes to be your unsung heroes, and you need guys like Chris Wagner, for example. You need guys like Charlie Coyle to come up huge. You need guys like Sean Kuraly to come up huge, and Carson Kuhlman. What can he contribute offensively as well? You need your bottom 6 guys to also produce as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you get a game off from either of those top 2 lines, what are you expecting from
done
from a scoring standpoint? Yeah,
you're done. If the Birds are online and I'm going to stop calling that first line the perfection line. But
we don't do that here.
We have a name for it here.
Good. If you are getting nothing offensively from the top line or even from the Krejci line, you're done for, because you haven't gotten enough from the third line, and I am beginning to become very critical of that of Charlie Coyle as to, listen, this has been an issue all season long with him. he has not had a good year offensively at all, and
Or defensively.
yes, or defensively, exactly. So you need him to step up, and you need him the most. And it's just one of the things that I wholeheartedly believe that if you are the Bruins, and if you're Cassidy, you're getting that bottom six, and you're saying, guys, I need you guys to step up, please, because now is the time we need you most.
Yeah, I think when you've brought up Charlie Coyle too, like the 2019 Charlie Coyle is what we really want to see. And I think we've seen flashes of that. There was a play last series where he literally skated around the entire zone with the puck. And then there was that goal he scored the other night. And that's really what you want to see from him. It's unfortunate Marcus Johansson isn't there anymore because they made quite the fucking duo.
He had a really bad year this year.
Yeah, I know, but they clicked so damn well, and that's why I think part of the reason Charlie Coyle did so well. But yeah, now you've been kind of just like, especially the past 2 seasons, it's becoming a little bit of a what do you call it? A revolving wheel? What's the door? Revolving door? Yeah,
just a revolving door.
Yeah, revolving door.
It's kind of a revolving door for him. So he's kind of like, you got Nick Ritchie and Jake DeBrusk there. It's kind of like the Island of Misfit Toys on the third line now, where that used to be what it was on the second line.
They're prepping him to be the new Krejci.
Exactly. Well, I don't think he can meet that expectation, but
yeah, that's a pretty lofty expectation around here.
I'm not expecting that.
Yeah, that's rather a bit scary to say the least. Cam, it's all good, bud. No worries.
Yeah, no worries. We're good without you, Cam. It's okay.
As always, running smoothly without Cam. Drew, you got anything to add? I think like somewhere around the 25-minute mark is probably a good spot to call it, and we'll and then resume
rendezvous.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the ideal is. You said you were going to go out to the bars and watch the game, and then,
I'm actually planning to be at Hurricanes tonight, for the bar stools viewing party. That's if that place is not already like to the brim and where you can't even walk inside. But we'll see how that goes. But I do fully intend to be there, to watch the game and whatnot.
All right, and then we'll send you another link. We're gonna have our buddy Mikey on from the 3 Cheers for Goaltender Interference podcast.
Islanders fan.
Awesome.
His co-host Kat Silverman has also asked to join.
We'll see if the Bruins win, then we can just rub it in his face. That's fine.
Yeah,
exactly. If the Bruins lose, I'm not gonna be able to move to like.
If the Bruins lose, he's not coming on. So.
Listen, if the Bruins lose, I won't even like entertain any like smack. I'm just listening. Listen here. Like, I don't want to treat you like an enforcer, but I will throw you through the damn ice. Like, don't tempt me.
We'll warn Mikey about that, and then
I have 2 things to add before we wrap it up.
Yeah, sure.
Birds and Bruins podcast is sponsored by DraftKings, and go Bruins. I'm trying to get the towel on.
Terrific. Good job on the promo right there, using the rally towel to get them to make the sponsors happy. You know what I mean? So like, good stuff. I mean, the Bruins are sponsored by DraftKings. We're sponsored by DraftKings. Like, what's the difference there? Should we have our
Bruins and Bruins podcast is not yet sponsored by Miller Lite, but come on, you can do it, guys.
Chili's has an answer too. So how about Orbit Gum? Let's go.
Orbit Gum.
We're shooting high for the sponsorships.
Hey, listen, it's about getting that money, man. I ain't mad at you.
Well, now that masks are going out the door, you're gonna need gum again. Exactly. So Orbit Gum.
Listen. I put out a tweet the other day about that. I'm like, listen, I'm not looking forward to smelling someone's nasty breath. Like, if your breath smells like the bottom of the Charles River, like, get away from me now, please. Like, 'cause I will call you out on the tea. Like, listen, that's not very flattering. I'm good, thanks, but.
All right. Well, this was awesome. I mean, we'll catch up with you in a few hours, and hopefully it's a good experience for all of us. And
I hope so. I hope so, because I'm like, let's go, let's go Bruins. Like, Taking that game 3 will be huge on the road because even if at worst you lose game 4, 2 of the next 3 games you have home ice advantage, so that's huge.
Yep. Also catch, if you're watching this right now, catch me and Drew. We're going to be on the Slapshot Sweethearts podcast for the second period.
I think it's the second
for the live stream. So if you didn't get enough of us now, check in there.
Oh gosh.
All right, and cut.